Otogi Katsugeki Mameda no Bakeru Oracle Saitaro no Sainan, that's a mouthful, was released in Japan exclusively for Nintendo Switch in 2023. Then, almost a full year later, the game was localized and released worldwide on Switch and PC as Bakeru. An unfortunate name, really, because if you type Bakeru into Google, it autocorrects to bakery, and it thinks you're looking for hot buns in your area. That's what Grinder is for.
僕はスタイルウェイジェネレーション階段を上がれ上がれそして越えますか繋がれますか僕の声の赤しかないような Stay away
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
It wasn't really clear during the Japanese release in 2023 whether Bakeru would get a localized release at all. It had appeared as though developer Goodfeel decided to let Mameda no Bakeru skip a Western release, so I had assumed we would never see an English release. This is the kind of game that would be called too Japanese for the West back in the 90s and 2000s. So this is one time I am happy to be proven wrong. In Mameda no Bakeru, you take control of Bakeru. At the beginning of the game, Bakeru rescues Sun, the small but brave disciple of the Isun tribe. Sun meets with the Tanuki Elder to warn him of an imminent threat facing Japan. It appears that the fun-loving Oracle Saitaro has turned the whole of Japan into a non-stop party central festival crazy town of wild boozing, unprotected sex, and hardcore drug usage. Well, I'm paraphrasing a little here. Not only that, but even the fairy tale heroes have fallen under the spell of Oracle Saitaro's badass song. So Bakeru must essentially traipse the whole of Japan, enjoying a sightseeing holiday as he goes. I've seen it argued, why would a Japanese person go on holiday around Japan? So I have two answers for that. One, Japan is massive. A Japanese person could go on holiday to a different place every year and would die before they get to see it all. That's how big Japan is. And two, Bakeru, being a Mamadanuki, has never seen the world outside of his clan's village, so naturally, he'd be pretty excited to explore Japan and take in the sights. Oh, what's that? What's a Mamadanuki? It's a creature from Japanese folklore, a shape-shifting raccoon, like Tarin from Link's Awakening. Unlike the folktale he's based on, Bakeru doesn't wear his scrotum as an umbrella to stop him getting wet when he pops out to the 7-Eleven late at night for Pringles and Comic Hello. Bakeru can, however, shapeshift into different henge forms. All these Japanese words, you cry! What's a henge? It just means a transformation state. He can shift into the tiny Isun henge for navigating tight spaces, the Kintaro henge for stronger punches, the Urashima Taro henge for multiple accurate strikes, or the gun-wielding Momotaro henge for movement. I don't know about you, but I could do with a henge form for navigating tight spaces. Yeah, there's a few untranslated words in this localization. There are English equivalents they could have used, but using Japanese words occasionally has helped reiterate how honest and accurate Spike Chunsoft have been with Bakeru's localization. So words like henge, Mamadanuki, they get a pass. There's a commitment to keeping it on brand and keeping it feeling Japanese. Bakeru is a level-based 3D platformer. You have large, linear stages with little nooks to find and secrets buried within. Some may say it's like Goemon. I'd say it's more like Super Mario 3D World or Ape Escape 2 or 3. In each stage, you've got to destroy all the festival markers to unlock the exit. That's about as basic as I can put it. Destroy the markers, open the exit, and that completes the stage. Sure, you're jumping around and collecting money, but it's not just a standard platformer, because Bakeru is given the Tanuki drum to aid him on his journey. Wait, no, they used the Japanese name for this one, Haradaiko. This is the main method of attacking enemies and blocking attacks. The L or R shoulder buttons are your basic attacks. You can string them together by alternating the buttons to keep a flurry of hits coming. You also have charged attacks by holding down L or R. You can press the L and R button to attack simultaneously in one harder, stronger blow, and you can charge both L and R together for a big attack with an area of effect, but it's slower and leaves you open to getting pinged from the side if you miss. Some slightly different attacks and moves were introduced in the localized release, which mostly serve to increase Bakeru's repertoire of moves and help him reach his combat potential. A spinning move by holding down L that deals multiple hits in quick succession, great for bosses, and a precision strike by holding down R. They are arbitrarily locked, but you do unlock them early on, and these are a huge improvement, and they did also get patched back into the original Japanese release as well. You can perform evasive rolls, or block using the right trigger or ZR. Doing either of these at the right time may open an enemy up for a counterattack, or to allow you to parry their strikes. The enemies are all based on different folklore and Japanese traditions, and there's a lot of charming stuff in here. My personal favourite, the Kendo Masters, who try to hit you with their bamboo shinai. The Japanese words you cry, what's a shinai? It's a stick. It's just a fucking stick. The Kendo Masters are a great enemy to practice on, since a well-timed block stuns them and gives you an in, or you can dodge at the right time and follow up with a strike that knocks them off balance. One of the new additions are the larger mid-boss enemies that were added with the release of the English version. To begin with, these utterly murdered the entire flow for me coming off the Japanese version, but you get used to fighting them. They've been patched backwards into the Japanese version too, so new players won't find their inclusion so jarring. Each stage has 3 hidden souvenirs to find. These prizes are associated with where in Japan they were collected. And this is another thing that was changed in the localization. You couldn't previously examine the prizes, but now you can. There are 5 unchiku, or scoops in the English version, to find, who just like their unchiku namesake, provide knowledge you're not particularly all that excited or invested in learning. Also, a short way into the game, a 3rd collectible is introduced. These are much harder to find. I don't want to spoil what they are, or where they are, but you feel pretty accomplished when you find some of these. They can be a real head-scratcher. Of course, if you do want to know where they are, I did make a guide. The presentation is unmatched. Eye-popping visuals that leap off the Switch's little screen, or come to life blown up on your TV. We are looking at the same game, right? And on PC, they're running uncapped at your monitor resolution, and the game's performance has been vastly improved in general. As a result, the gameplay on PC is so doggone smooth. I often make the comparison to Ape Escape 3. I already have within this video, but it was the immediate first impression I got from the Japanese Nintendo Direct when this game was initially revealed. This gives me like Ape Escape 3 vibes. The character movement is fluid but snappy. Like Ape Escape, the transformations provide a ton of gameplay variety, just like Ape Escape 3. The integration of the Haradaiko into the operation of stage gimmicks is immersive, and just like using your gadgets in Ape Escape 3. Based on the feelings it evokes, Bakeru is like playing a remake of a lost PlayStation 2 platformer. It's so stylized, and it's so very clear that fun was absolutely prioritized. The game runs smooth as butter on Switch 2. Genuinely, it is difficult to differentiate between the PC version and the Switch 2 version. Once you play Bakeru on PC or Switch 2, it is impossible to go back to the original Switch. This is an easy recommendation for any Switch 2 owners that are looking to pad out their library. Leaning into the Goemon comparisons, Bakeru features stages that switch out the platforming for on-rail shooting, driving, surfing, or even piloting a big robot. The only thing missing is a musical number, like Gorgeous My Stage, or something like that. Maybe if we get a sequel. And please, if we do get a sequel, let us play as Uriko, okay? I'm going to finish up the review portion of this Bakeru episode here by saying that this is a really solid recommendation and one of my top games of the last few years. If you've been on the fence, maybe wait until the next sale? Otherwise, if this looks like something you'd play and you have the coin, get it now. Bakeru is a must-play.
You better subscribe.
So we just have to watch this?
Well,
So I've told you all about the game, but we also need to talk about how we got to this point. You know, my whole history with Bakeru. Clean some misunderstandings up. Otogi Katsugeki, Mameda no Bakeru, was initially released in November 2023. At that time, I spoke with my friend Kong's Nuts of Team Oceanic and suggested we took a look at the game's data files. With it being a Unity game, these could be reverse engineered to a certain extent. Not expecting to have much success, we were actually somewhat surprised by just how much of the game's files could be extracted. Sure enough, all of the in-game text was stored as basic strings, and because Bakeru uses standard fonts that support English characters, it was relatively straightforward to replace the text. In fact, the first text replacements were done within a day, mainly things like main menu options.
We have a team of experts, crack ninjas. No, we've managed to unpack the game to its Unity engine assets. It's a Unity engine game. Change them and import them back into the game using layered FS on at least a Switch emulator, if not on the hardware itself. As it currently stands, a few text assets have been changed and work in real time. Yes, a translation effort has begun.
It took between 1 to 2 months for Team Oceanic to put out a full 1.0 translation for the game, which I tested and live streamed in full. I collected every item in the game, beat all the levels and bosses, reached the game's credits, and was genuinely elated to have played something so brilliant. I mean both the game and the patch itself. I was ready to create a video on Bakeru then, but news kept coming out which led to the video getting delayed. This episode of SushiBites kept getting delayed. At first, it was a title update that completely rewrote the way the game's pause screen worked, which required all the fixes from the original 1.0 to be re-implemented from scratch in every stage's container. In other words, the translation patch was broken and all the text had to be injected back into the new containers. That sounds like a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but it happened fast. Then an update came that added new stages and accessories based on Koro Koro magazine, which were quickly translated and injected into the patch. But much more relevant, Good Feel had added some English text strings of their own into the game in that patch. That doesn't happen by accident when the game is released with next to zero English text. That was when I realized that the video would likely be delayed again. This, and comments made by Good Feel at the start of 2024, suggested they were looking to localize the game. I held off making a video just in case my hunch was right. Well, it was. A few months later, Team Oceanic received a cease and desist letter. Team Oceanic has received a cease and desist letter, which means that the project and all of Team Oceanic's activities must cease effective immediately, and the patch was officially cancelled. At that point, we knew an English release would be imminent. I put out my video explaining that the patch had been cancelled, took down my mirrors of the patch, and around 2 months after that, the Bakeru localization was announced.
Otogi Katsugeki Mameda no Bakeru is coming out in English under the name Bakeru. It is being published by Spike Chunsoft, and there is a demo available now.
At that point, it didn't make sense to put out a SushiBites episode on Bakeru, as my footage would be using different text. Though I did reuse that footage for my collectibles guide. So now jump forward to October 2024 and the game was released. 1 week before Astrobot, and during a super busy month full of big releases. I had already purchased the original Japanese version, played through the game in full, and created a video guide showcasing all the collectible locations using my livestream footage, so I was happy to wait on purchasing Bakeru. Silent Hill 2 and Astrobot would take precedence at the time due to my limited funds. As Bakeru was published by Spike Chunsoft, who are notorious for not handing out content creators any game keys, very few creators were covering the game at launch. You know you fucked up when even Wishing Tikal isn't covering your game. Covering the game at launch was possible for me, as the game's DRM had been cracked almost immediately, and copies of Bakeru were floating around the net. But I wasn't gonna disrespect Bakeru like that. What do you take me for? I was finally able to pick the game up during the Steam Winter Sale, where it dropped to 50% off. That's kinda sad considering it had only been out for a couple of months. And as a result, I felt a little bad buying the game at that deep a discount, since Bakeru is a steal even at full price. But my finances dictated it for me at the time. Bakeru didn't exactly have the most hot initial performance in Japan, which has left me concerned for the future of Goodfield's new and exciting IP. I can only hope this video reaches the people it needs to, and that Bakeru finally finds his feet. It's truly refreshing to see Goodfield branch out from making Nintendo-mandated Yoshi or Princess Peach sequels, and put together something more distinctly their own again. And the social media posts and unique artwork shows me that Bakeru is Goodfield's passion. They love this world and the characters they have created, and we are sure to see them again. If you want to see more games like this in the dried up, boring video game industry we find ourselves in today, then grab a copy on Steam, Nintendo Switch eShop, or physical, and help keep the dream alive. Because if games like Bakeru don't sell, we're doomed to live in the Just Dance and Madden minds forever. You've been watching SushiBites. Thanks for watching.